Hey guys, I'm in Poinciana, Florida, which is just south of Orlando. I'm standing in front of another house I recently purchased. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Alright, so I'm inside the house right now. The way that I got this house was from a pay-per-click Google ad campaign. So if you're an investor, you're looking for some good keywords, words like "we buy houses Florida" or "need to sell my house fast" are really good keywords to get somebody who's really motivated to sell, like the owner of this house. So this was a unique situation. The call came in on a Saturday. I was actually out on my boat. And so it was forwarded through to my cell phone because we didn't have an acquisition rep answering the phone. And when the call came in, I was sitting on my boat answering my cell and got some basic info. Came in off a Google pay-per-click ad, address, name, phone number, and condition of the property and how much he's looking to get for it. And so when I asked him those questions, one of the key questions you want to ask as a real estate investor is, what is the least amount you would be willing to take for a cash offer if I can close in 2 or 3 weeks? And in this scenario, I asked that question and his answer was $190,000. All right. So being on that, I was on my boat. I said, you know what, let me run some numbers, check some comps, and I'll follow up with you in an hour or two. So when I was done on my boat, I went back to my car and I pulled up the address on my phone and I clicked on Zillow. And Zillow said the estimate was $296 and he said $190. So I said, wow, that's like almost $100,000 difference. So I called him back and asked him a few additional questions about the condition of the home and whether he could send me some pictures. And he agreed to text me some photos. And I said, look, based on what I see, I can't do $190, but I could do $180. And his response was, can you do $185? And I said, yeah, sure, we could do $185. And I went home and I prepared a contract, sent it to him via DocuSign, which he signed. Now, the key point, I think, in having him sign the contract is the fact that the house was rented and I was willing to buy the house with the tenants in place. So in this specific scenario, market rents in the neighborhood were quite reasonable. They were at $1,800 a month, which is about 100 times rent based on my purchase price. But actually, a family member was living in there and paying less, and I agreed to take the house with the tenants in place. So we ordered up a home inspection. We got a company to come out and do an inspection, and it turns out there were a couple of minor things, some things with the AC, a leak under the kitchen faucet sink. I said, hey, do you want to fix these, or do you want to just put a $2,000 credit on the HUD, which we did. That reduced the price from $185 to $183. And we got ready for closing, but then something happened. The tenant, who was a relative of the seller, said that they did not want to move out. And he called me about a week before closing. He said, look, is there any way that you can take this property with them in there, right? So initially the deal was I'd buy the house and they would move out. And then it became, hopefully they'll move out prior to closing, but now it became apparent that that was not going to be the case and that he was going to have to go through an eviction to remove the tenants. So at that point I was like, look, I really would rather take this place and close once they've moved out, but that's not going to happen. So the only way I'd be willing to close with the tenants in place is if you gave me a $5,000 credit, which he agreed to, and that reduced the purchase price from $183 down to $178, and I closed on the house. I figured it would just be a couple of months until I got the tenants out, but it was a very interesting situation and also an interesting real estate lesson. And the lesson was that we didn't have a written lease because it was a family member. So the judge threw out the eviction twice, and we had to finally get the seller to do an agreement of transfer of lease in writing for the judge to accept the eviction. Now keep in mind that this house had been occupied. I'd seen the pictures from the previous owner. He'd gone over to the house, taken them and texted them to me, and I'd also had a company called Max Home Inspections that went out there, sent me some photos as well, and I'd also seen the condition report. So basically the house was in pretty good shape. Well, when I got access to the house, once the tenants had been evicted, I was completely shot. Take a look at the pictures of the condition of the house and what it looked like. So this is an example of a house that was just completely trashed out. The tenants resisted the eviction and basically stayed for months in the house without paying anything. And when they finally did leave, they turned the power off, they left food in the refrigerators, they basically left the house a mess, as you can see from these pictures. So when I finally got possession of the house and was able to take a look at it, I realized the first thing we're going to have to do is trash out the house, which we did. We threw out all the trash. And the next thing we had to do is we had to bring in a pest control company and really scrub this house down, like literally with bleach and ozone and everything, just to get all of the odors out of the house. And then from there we could start putting it back together. But the bones of this house are really good. It's a 2016 construction. We could keep the tile floor. The laminate floor that was in the bedrooms was kind of shot, so what we did is we decided to re-laminate the bedroom floors, and we were able to keep the bathrooms. They just needed a good deep cleaning. And in the kitchen we went with basically changing out the countertop for a new Formica countertop and put in a new stainless steel sink. Let me show you what it looks like now. So basically this house is essentially ready for rent. What I would do right now, there's a couple of touch-up things I would do, is I would send a cleaning crew in, give it a nice, good clean scrubs, clean out the sinks, redo the cleaning on the windows. They could look like they could use some cleaning. But basically it's a decent rental, and I look at market rents, they can be around $1,800–$1,900 a month. So being that I'm into this house for $178, with all the laminate floor and everything else we did, figure probably about $10,000 or so, including getting the tenants out. So we're into this for, call it about $190,000 or so. So almost 100 times rent if we could get $1,800 or $1,900. But I checked with the HOA and I asked them, this is like 25 minutes from Disney World, and does your association allow Airbnb? And the answer was yes. So now I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, the flooring's good. I could consider doing a couple of things, switching out that countertop maybe from Formica to granite, maybe putting in new cabinets and redoing both of the bathrooms and making them much more modern looking, and this could be a pretty good Airbnb. So I'll keep you guys posted and let you know what I do with this house. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and I will see you on the next video.